Okay, Ms. Adelson, if you come up to the witness stand, please.
All right, and does the immunity conferred upon you by the subpoena mean that you can never be prosecuted associated with this case?
That's right.
That's what you think it means?
That's what I think it means.
Okay. And do you think, isn't it true that it's use and derivative use immunity? Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. But not complete immunity from prosecution. Do you agree with that?
That's different than what you just asked before. So, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
All right. So what I'm trying to allow the jury to understand is what sort of immunity you have. What is your understanding of what it means for you to have immunity pursuant to the state subpoena?
So I have derivative and use immunity. And so in the future, a prosecutor couldn't use what I say here today against me.
Correct. But you could be prosecuted. Just nothing you said here today could be used against you in that prosecution. Do you agree with that?
I suppose so.
Okay. Would you agree that this was a contentious divorce?
I think it was made much more difficult by Danny, who didn't want to get divorced, but sure, we can call it contentious.
Not what we would classify as an amicable divorce. You hear about those.
No, it would be not an amicable divorce.
All right. And part of what you were seeking in your divorce in these documents in front of you was permission from the court to move with your children to South Florida. Is that correct?
That was part of the overall divorce proceedings.
All right. And specifically on pages 43 through 50, there's a petition to include a request to be allowed to relocate with minor children. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And why were you seeking to move to South Florida?
I was seeking a place that would be stable and permanent for the kids and me. Danny never planned on staying in Tallahassee. It was just a question of time before he moved to New York to be with his girlfriend or had dreams of being at Harvard. So Tallahassee was just a temporary stopping point.
Is this Mr. Markel's 23-page response to your motion to relocate?
You're asking me, is this
his response to your motion to relocate?
Yes, it looks like it.
All right. That's quite verbose. Would you agree with that?
I imagine it is. At some point, Danny fired or alienated all of his attorneys and started doing his own legal work. So,
fair to say he was adamantly opposed to you taking his kids to South Florida.
Yes, he shared all of that here, which is different than the conversations we had. But
that's what he filed.
What he filed is what the judge sanctioned him for.
All
yes.
Right. And in that filing, I'm specifically referencing to page 82, where Markel states that the sole stated reason the wife seeks to relocate with the party's minor children is so she can be closer to her parents. My understanding is you don't agree that's why you wanted to move.
It wasn't the sole reason why I wanted to move.
Okay. But you do agree it was a reason.
It was absolutely a reason. I wanted to create some stability for my kids, and having family around helps have a more stable environment.
All right. Was your divorce impacting your family financially? So this is prior to the murder and the
It was certainly impacting me financially, but I don't think it was impacting the rest of my family.
All right. How many lawyers did you have in your divorce?
I had one, and then Danny accused her of ethical violations and stealing money, and so I had to hire a new attorney. I think he had 3 or 4.
No, I was talking about you. So you had 2.
I had one, and then I had to get another, yes.
All right. All right. Does that refresh your recollection about what your mother felt was the most important non-negotiable term of your divorce?
It does.
Okay. And what was that?
That was relocation.
And did your mother, I think you said she was very unhappy with him. Did you agree that she despised him?
I can't speak to whether my mom despised him or didn't. She was very, very disappointed with the way he treated me.
Okay. And did she ever call him names?
I don't remember her calling him names.
Would it refresh your recollection to take a look at the emails for that?
I'm happy to.
Okay. If you'll take a look at page 1, about halfway down. Did your mom ever refer to your husband as an asshole,
Yes.
a bully,
Yes.
a zealot,
A religious zealot. Yes.
a jackass,
Yes.
a religious extremist?
Yes.
What about Jibbers? She calls him Jibbers?
Yeah, Tibbers is not a bad name. It was a silly name that I came up with during a period of time when I felt incredibly terrorized by Danny. And so it was a word that I would use to kind of make him seem less scary.
And these filings are pretty venomous. Is that a fair characterization?
Not on my part.
Well, on both your parts, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And he accuses you of various things, lying about your financial affidavit and things like that. Would you agree?
He does make those accusations. They were completely baseless, but yes.
And he was seeking a court order saying she couldn't have contact with the kids unless there was another adult present. Correct?
I see that here. I don't think I took it seriously at the time, so it didn't really lodge in my memory.
Did
But
your
I-
mom take it seriously?
No,
Was it ever ruled on?
I don't know. If it were, it should be here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it here?
No, it's not. It was scheduled to be ruled on in August of 2014, right?
I don't know. I don't know when it was scheduled for. I do know that nobody took it very seriously.
Okay, so your mom wasn't worried about that motion being granted. Okay. Are you closer to one more than the other?
Yes,
Which one are you closer to?
Charlie.
And has that always been the case, or just since this case?
No, it's not since this case. I think when we were kids, I was probably closest to my oldest brother, and then after getting to be an adult myself around my 20s, I was probably closer to my middle brother.
Around the time of 2013 and 2014, were you closer to Charlie at that time?
I would say so.
All right. And are you aware of any connection at any time between your brother Charlie and any gang members?
No.
Did your brother use drugs?
He did, yeah.
What type of drugs did he use?
Marijuana.
Okay. What else?
I don't know of anything else.
Okay. And do you know where he got the drugs from that he used?
I don't.
Okay. Was he a recreational marijuana user, or was he a drug dealer?
I would say he was a recreational marijuana user.
Okay. Was this something he did every day or just occasionally?
I don't know how often. I don't know if it was every day, but I do know the pain of the last few years has led him to do some self-medicating.
Okay, but I'm really speaking of the time frame. I should have clarified, 2013 to 2014.
I don't know if he was using any drugs during that time.
Was there anything special about this girlfriend in terms of her relationship with your brother? Did they seem closer or more serious?
It didn't seem serious.
Were you off-put by Ms. Magbanua for any reason? Did she seem like different from the ordinary trail of women that came through his life?
She seemed perfectly nice.
Did you bond with her in a special way? Did you have a different type of relationship with her than you had with any of his other girlfriends?
No, I mean, if anything, I'd say I'd been closer to other girlfriends. I only met her twice.
All right. What about her ex, Sigfredo Garcia? Were you aware of him at all before this case?
No.
So you didn't even know she had an ex?
I knew she had an ex because my brother once mentioned that he was dating a girl and she had an ex that seemed a little scary.
All
and
right.
I said, maybe you should stay away from that.
Yeah. And so the ex, did you have specific knowledge about why he was a little scary?
No.
Is your brother Charlie protective of you?
He is, yeah.
Did you discuss your marital problems with him back during the time of 2013, 2014?
I did.
Is it fair to say that in the time frame leading up to the murder of your ex-husband that your brother did not like your ex?
I think it's fair to say. I mean, I also think it's fair to say he wasn't particularly concerned with it. He was leading his own life and not really focused on mine.
But your mom was really focused on yours.
My mom was focused on mine.
And your mom was in the ear of your brother quite a bit, same as she was with you, right?
I don't know about how much she was in his ear or not.
Did your brother ever mention hiring a hitman to kill your ex-husband?
He never mentioned hiring a hitman. He told one bad off-color joke where he said he had bought me a TV when I got divorced and said it was a present and made a very bad joke and bad taste that it was cheaper than hiring a hitman.
And was I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, that's okay.
What else were you going to say?
I think that was it.
All right. Was that a joke that your brother made one time or more than one time?
He has a tendency to repeat himself, so everything he says multiple times.
Do you know how many times he said it?
I have no idea, but definitely twice at least.
Who was present at that dinner?
Just my brother and me.
Okay. And that was kind of your first time out after this murder had occurred, right?
After it happened, I couldn't eat for several weeks, and then I was completely terrified to leave my house. So this was the first time I tried to leave the house and eat food, and that is how it ended up. I threw up.
At the dinner table? Mm-hmm. In a restaurant?
Yes, it was very embarrassing.
How long after the murder was that incident?
Probably about a month or so.
Was the dinner intended to be a celebration of the fact that your husband was murdered?
Absolutely not.
Did your brother refer to it as a celebration?
I highly doubt that.
All right. Were you involved in the plot to kill your husband?
Absolutely not.
Did you have knowledge of the plot to kill your husband?
No.
But you suspected that your family was involved?
No, I did not suspect that my family was involved.
Did you mention in your interview with law enforcement that you suspected that your family could be behind this?
I think I speculated about lots of things during the 6 hours I spent with law enforcement without an attorney present trying to help them solve this murder. Yes, I said all kinds of things.
Right, and one of the things you said was that your family very much disliked him and that you thought it was possible that someone had done this on your behalf, unbeknownst to you.
I did say I thought someone might have done this on my behalf, yes.
And who did your brother know that had connections that could get something like that done?
I have no idea.
Specifically at the time of the murder, Katherine Magbanua was your brother's girlfriend at that time, correct?
I think so.
Okay. And can you identify her? You mentioned you've been to the beach with her on one occasion and dinner on another occasion. Do you see her in the courtroom?
Yes. I do.
Could you please point her out and describe what she's wearing?
She is sitting over here. She has on a striped blouse and a blazer.
Were you aware that she was on the payroll at the Adon Institute?
I know that she worked at my dad's office for a while, so it would make sense that she was on the payroll.
And what duties did she perform there?
I have no idea.
Okay, and when you say she worked there, did she physically went there?
I really don't know.
On the way to run your errands, did you go by the crime scene?
No.
On the way to run your errands, did you encounter a roadblock on Trescott?
I did.
All right, so you did turn off of Centerville onto Trescott.
I did.
All right, and when you encountered a roadblock, what did you assume the problem was there?
I figured it was just an electrical storm or something. There was some tape, and it looked like the road was blocked off, and so I just turned around and went back and went up Benton.
And had there been an electrical storm that morning?
I didn't remember an electrical storm, but in the summertime there's always trees falling and rainstorms, so pretty normal.
Right, and you weren't concerned based on that experience that there could be something going on at previously your marital home?
Absolutely not.
Do you know how the killers knew that Dan Markell was planning to leave town the next day?
I have no idea.
You didn't relay that information to anyone?
Absolutely not.
Did you have WhatsApp on your phone at the time?
I really don't know. I have it now. I don't know if I had it 8 years ago.
Did you communicate with anyone on WhatsApp or similar technology to relay any information about the murder of your husband?
Absolutely not.
Do you know if your brother Charlie had WhatsApp at the time?
I have no idea.
Did you communicate with him through WhatsApp?
If I had WhatsApp on my phone, then maybe I did. I know I had friends who lived around the world. At that time, WhatsApp was more of a technology used to talk to people internationally. So I know the friend I was talking to was in England. If I had WhatsApp, I would have used it to call him.
Did you know that WhatsApp, the communications are encrypted, they cannot be retrieved by law enforcement? Were you aware of that?
I think they can be retrieved by law enforcement, but it's one of the end-to-end encryption services.
Did you or your children benefit financially from your husband's death?
Absolutely not.
Did your husband have a life insurance policy?
He did have a life insurance policy.
And what was the value of that policy?
I don't know what the value of it was at the time. I do know that his sister's the custodian of that life insurance policy, and I pay taxes on that money every year, but we don't receive any of it.
What was the value of it at the time of your husband's death?
It was $1 million.
Not $2 million?
$1 million for each child.
$2 million. What about a 401k? Did your ex-husband have a 401k when he died?
I believe he did.
All right. And are you the custodian of that money for the benefit of the boys?
I am. That's how I pay the taxes.
All right. Did he have a pension?
I don't know.
Social Security benefits?
I don't know if he had Social Security benefits. As survivors, my children receive Social Security benefits.
$4,800 a month, right?
That's right.
Deferred compensation fund?
I don't remember.
$217,000. Does that sound familiar?
I don't remember.
What about the IRA? Did you have an IRA?
I really don't know.
$100,000?
It's very possible.
What about a checking account?
I don't know if I assume he had a checking account.
$15,000 in there, right?
Wouldn't go to us, but sure, I imagine he had a checking account.
It wouldn't go to you and the boys? Where did it go?
Funeral expenses?
Okay. How old are your boys now?
They're 11 and 12.
How old were they when their dad was killed?
It was 10 days before my older son's birthday, so he was almost 5. And my younger son was 3.5.
Did you change their legal names about a month or so after the murder?
No, not a month or so after the murder, no.
Okay. When was it done? Even sooner than that?
No, absolutely not. When I tried to put my children in school and their faces had been unblurred on CNN and all across social media,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you'll answer my question is, when were the boys' names changed?
The boys' names were changed after I wrote a letter to Danny's family explaining why I was changing their names.
When were their names
About
changed?
a year after.
Okay, and that was when they were legally changed, July 6, 2015?
I don't remember the date, but if you have it, that sounds correct.
Okay, so they were legally changed on that date, but just a month or so after the murder, when you were enrolling them in school, is when they effectively had their names changed.
That is not true.
And what did you change their names from and to?
I changed their last name from their father's last name to mine.
From Markel to Adelson.
That is correct.
And did you also drop the middle name of one of your boys that was a tribute to his paternal side?
It was a tribute to both families.
Did you drop it?
I did. I lost an honor to both families that day, yes.
Do you recall giving an interview with law enforcement on the day that your ex-husband was murdered?
I recall sitting with law enforcement for 6 hours, yes, I recall.
And did you tell law enforcement something different in that interview about the culpability of your family?
I'm sure while I sat for 6 hours completely traumatized that I said all kinds of things.
All right, and was one of the things you said while you sat for 6 hours completely traumatized that you wanted the culpable parties held accountable unless it was your family?
I don't believe I phrased it like that, and I think you're taking my words out of context, but sure.
But sure?
But sure what?
No further questions.
All right, we're going to take our break now.